Hi, Justyna and Kuba. We are a couple from Poland who travels around Europe in search of traces of our prehistory and inspiring places. And everything we find, we share with you in our videos. Today we are in Phaistos, Crete, Greece. Beautiful, fascinating archaeological site. Come with me. This is so-called the King's Megaron because of resemblance to the corresponding King's Megaron in Knossos. But even in the more representative Knossos, it is difficult to find a king. The link to the video about Knossos is in the description below. Moreover, Megarons in ancient Greece were rather rooms associated with the sacred. Let's take a look at this Megaron. It consists of a spacious central hall with characteristic polythra, that is pier and door partitions which helped arrange the space conveniently. Between the columns there is a fantastic view of Mount Psiliris and the sacred Kamares cave. At the back of the Megaron there is the impressive lustral basin. So, maybe it's a room related to a cult? So what about the king? What if he wasn't there? For example, what if the social structure of Crete in the Bronze Age was different from what is commonly believed? What is noticeable about the monuments of Crete from this area is their egalitarianism and the lack of clear iconography of the ruler. The area of Phaistos was inhabited from 3200 BC from Neolithic. However, the structure today called the First Palace was built in 1900 BC. It spread over the stepped terraces of the hill and was destroyed and rebuilt 3 times. Around the palace in the Minoan times arose the city of Phaistos, which continued to flourish until the Hellenic times 323 to 67 BC. The so-called palace was destroyed in 1450 BC, as were most Minoan centers, and wasn't rebuilt after this destruction. The city around it continued to be inhabited and even developed until 150 BC, when neighboring Gortys destroyed it. Nevertheless, this place has not disappeared from the map of ancient world. For example, Christian tombs from 330 to 600 AD were found here. Notice that we are not the only ones who have this thought, which is also written on the information board. The Minoan palaces were centers of political, economic and religious activity rather than simply residences of the elite. These places had a specific architectural layout. The core of such complexes was the large open-air central court. Around it were interconnected multi-story buildings with luxurious rooms and halls with roofs supported by columns. The buildings had monumental gateways, polythra, light wells, and open balconies. All these things connected rooms with walls that could be closed and opened formed a real labyrinth. Sacred Kamares cave, which is visible from this room. Sacrificial offerings were found there and, what is interesting, luxurious ceramic vessels which were named after this cave. These vessels, even in the colors of which have been preserved to this day, were produced by palace workshops, mainly in Phaistos and Knossos. The question is, will the decorations and their colors survive in our dishes for 4000 years? Anyway, Kamares ware was a luxury product of the Minoan export trade found throughout the Mediterranean basin, from the Cyclades and the Peloponnese to Cyprus, Egypt and Syro-Palestine. Next to the King's Megaron is the so-called the Queen's Megaron. It was paved with gypsum slabs with red plaster filling the interstices. The walls are decorated with frescoes depicting plant motifs. Here is a good place to show one interesting thing. In the Megaron was found, among other things, this Rhyton. What's so special about it? Look at this picture. The sacred knot with the Libris. This drawing simply looks like an angel. I think that was the point. This equivocation. Libris or double X. And here is the sacred knot. Here are other decorations of this type. The staircase led to the upper floor from the Megaron. Here was so-called the peristyle, that means inner courtyard. Inside the colonnade there is a visible remnant of the building from before the construction of this complex. In Minoan times, above this floor of columns, there should have been another one above us, but even this level offers a view of central court and the rest of the structure. The peristyle can be separated from the rest of the building with polythrone, pier and door partitions, for example during bad weather.
No dobrze, poczujmy się.
Okay, let's feel like a king,
Niezależnie od tego,
whether real or imaginary. Let's go from the King's and Queen's Megarons to the ceremonial court.
Oczywiście.
Of course, we walked under a roof, inside the building. Now you can see what's left.
Bardzo wyszliśmy.
So we went out,
Koło
our subjects all
nasi
around.
poddani. Czy widzicie ich?
Do you see them?
Nie?
No?
Ja też nie. Ale jaki król, tacy poddani.
Well, neither do I. Like the king, like the subjects.
Ale chociaż miejsce ładne, nie?
But at least the place is nice, right?
No dobrze. W takim razie wracajmy.
Let's go back then.
Królowa.
Oh, Queen! The king and queen were not here. And here is the workshop area. In the center of the court are the ruins of a horse-show-shaped kiln. Well, according to the description on the tablet, I can feel like a prince, because according to the authors of the tablet, I'm in the apartments of a young prince. Where did this idea come from? For two reasons. Firstly, the character of the room is slightly similar to that of the King's and Queen's Megaron. There are three partitions, the so-called polythrone, door walls as I call it. There is a group of such here and at an angle of 90 degrees. In any case, they allow you to organize the space very good. Hence this idea. And maybe you can go to the room from which there is a way to, perhaps, a lustre basin?
Wejście do być może basenu lustralnego.
In front of you are the prince's apartments, and next to them, towards the north, there are workshops. On the northern side, the so-called King's and Queen's Megarons,
No, a dalej na zachód.
and further west,
pomieszczenia
storage rooms.
magazynowe.
The so-called Prince's Megaron was
Książę
adjacent
sąsiadował
to
z
the workshops. Prince workshops behind the wall. And this is central court, eastern part of it. A bench for relaxation and next to it a water container. And this may be an altar, possibly the corner where the altar was placed. This is a place for prominent spectators of potential ceremonies that took place on the central court. Niches with benches for VIPs. I think they were roofed. And in front of the audience are the celebrations in the central court. And behind these VIP niches, Kuba in the shrine of the West Wing. A complex with shrines in the West Wing. Various interesting things were found there, including this figurine. It is a female figure pointing to breasts that give food. Its head is hardly human. This is some animal. As written on the information board, it is a figurine of a deity. In the shrine behind the board are sacred pillars, which were worshipped by pouring libations on them. In other religious room is a double X and a star carved on the wall. There is also another lustral basin in this part. From the central court we enter complex of the magazines. You have to go through a large antechamber. What's so interesting about it? Well, about 6,000 clay ceilings were found here. They were used to monitor the movement of the goods in the magazines. In Minoan times, columns supported the roof, and doors to the right and left led to 11 storerooms. Inside were the goods produced by the complex in Phaistos. Here is one of the magazines, an inscription on the wall at the entrance. Ownership markings or the content. There's a pretty cool bowl here. And in this storeroom are interesting signs carved on stones. That is Labris and Star. There were also similar signs in the wing with shrines. And this sign, a branch, resembles a sign from linear A. Here are the stars leading to what we call the theater. On the way to the theater, there is a tripartite shrine. Researchers identified this type of shrines on one of the frescoes found in Knossos. The original of this fresco can be seen in the Archaeological Museum in Heraklion. And here are some more remains of stone containers. The view from the last rows of the theater on the west court. These are the stairs leading to the main entrance to the Phaistos complex. You are looking at the nice, straight stairs. They are actually slightly curved to give the illusion of a perfect line when viewed from a distance. Stairs led to the main entrance to the complex at Phaistos. It was monumental propylaea. There are also characteristic colors of the west court. There are most likely another storage containers. They are generally regarded as depositories for offerings from the shrines or the granaries. Under the floor in West Wing also are storerooms. In some of them were huge pitoi with various goods. They have been preserved very well. There is one more place and a finding from here which we left, so to speak, for dessert. Let's go towards the northeastern wing again. And there, below me, famous disc from Phaistos was found. The Phaistos disc is the most enigmatic object of the prehistoric Aegean. The disc was found in the narrow, rectangular room where also a clay tablet inscribed with linear A was discovered. Next door is a room which resembles similar places in Knossos and Zakros. There they were used to store valuable ritual vessels. East of the room where the disc was found was a chamber with a large number of unfinished pots. The original Phaistos disc is in the Archaeological Museum in Heraklion. The plaque describing it says that it contains 45 pictorial signs arranged in different combinations into 61 groups, separated by incised lines, presumably representing words. The signs were stamped in a spiral configuration on both sides of the disc by seals on soft clay. The repetition of certain combinations of signs suggests that the inscription is a hymn or a text of magic character. The disc is dated to the 17th century BC. This is the dating of the deposit at Phaistos. It doesn't have to be the disc's creation date. It can be older. The disc is strange and it doesn't match anything. The inscription forms a spiral from the center to the outside or vice versa. There is controversy among researchers as to whether each repeated mark was made with the same stamp. It could have been that the scribe had a choice of 2 or 3 stamps for the same sign.
No może
And
tak być.
this would
To by
mean
oznaczało
something
coś
amazing.
niesamowitego, że w ogóle produkcja tego typu obiektów była
That the
na większą
production of
skalę
this
niż
type
jeden
of
dysk.
objects went on a larger scale than one disk. It is not known whether the disk has local origin. Dating shows that at the time linear A writing existed in Crete, but the disk can be older. The second problem is that the aerial writing from Crete had different signs than these on the disk. But after the discovery of this disk,
Wypłynęły kolejne przedmioty, jak na przykład labry
further
z
objects were found,
Archeolochorii, który
such
miał
as
podobne
the
znaki,
double
tylko
axe from
mniej,
Archeolochory,
jak na
which
tym
had
dysku,
similar markings,
oraz,
and a gold
pierścień
signet
złoty,
ring with an
sygnet, który miał
inscription
postaci
arranged in a
spiralnej, też
spiral.
kilka znaków, no tylko
These two
mniej.
objects
Te dwa
were also
przedmioty
discovered in
były
Crete,
odkryte też na
hence
Krecie,
the conclusion
stąd
that
wnioski, że
the
pewnie
disk
to pochodzi,
probably
ten
comes
disk
from
z Krety.
Crete. How was it created? It's not that obvious after all. First of all, the clay was of good quality and very well prepared. And then the disc was fired properly.
Zauważono,
It was noticed that the
pieczątka.
stamp,
No tak.
very nicely
bardzo
imprinted.
ładnie odciśnięta. Weźmy
Let's
placek.
take a slice of anything and put a stamp on one side.
Początek z jednej strony.
Let's turn it to the other side and put it in the same place on the other
Widać, że to
side.
pomysł.
Seems like a bad idea. What did the creators of the disc do? There are different ideas. One idea is that they described one side, dried it out a bit so that it wouldn't be too limp, hanged it and in the air on the other side. The researchers who suggested this claimed that there are deeper signs on one side than on the other. That was one of the arguments. And indeed, these sides aren't identical.
Drugi pomysł. Wzięli
Second idea. They created plate A and plate B.
czy płytkę A, płytkę B,
They burned them
Wypalili i
and
zlepili.
stuck them together. Third idea. They took one, took the other, and stuck both on the third. Based on the clues that there are stamps, that material is well prepared. That there is a scribe who makes mistakes and corrects them because there are traces of them. Also good firing technique. So it seems this isn't the only disc that has been made.
Wydaje się, że to jest po prostu produkcja tego typu.
It seems to be a production of this type.
Wtedy
In
się
short, a printing house of that time, a workshop where this type of things are made. For some purpose, ceremonial, for trade. Well, for example, if it's some kind of poetry, then
Czy nie wiadomo w ogóle...
it didn't have to be made in Phaistos. It could have been somewhere else.
Tak,
Yes,
ale
but generally speaking, the
jest
shape of the signs is related to the Minoan culture. For now,
Na razie
researchers
cywilizacja
tend
raczej
to
kwiateł
agree
stworzony
that
przez
it was
tą kulturę,
created
przez
by
tą
this
kulturę.
culture.
Na
Increased
miejscu, tak, ale
on
niekoniecznie
site,
w
but
Faistos.
not necessarily
Że
in
niekoniecznie na
Faistos.
Krecie.
Nawet
Not
niekoniecznie
even
na Krecie,
necessarily
no, bo
in
Santorini
Crete.
leciało w powietrzu.
Santorini
Przecież to
blew
była
up.
ta sama Minojczycy.
After all, it was the same culture. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe if you don't want to miss another videos. And till the next time, bye bye.